Hello everyone and welcome back to Animation Pilgrimage, the show where Tennille and I take a look at every single theatrically released animated film in chronological order. I'm Sean.
I'm Tennille.
And sorry for no episode last week, but we were both feeling under the weather, and I in particular had a runny nose like no one ever seen before. Very similar to the main character of the movie we watched this week. Makoto-Chan is a 1980 film from Tokyo Movie Shinsha in Japan.
Yeah, so if I'm a little quieter, I sound a little weird today. Y'all know why. I had a bit of a sore throat. Yeah.
So
we got our second COVID shots, and I guess that's probably part of it. So
yeah, it's just kind of attacked us hard.
Yeah.
But we're back this week, and hopefully us being sick and my runny nose is the only correlation and similarity between me and the main character of this movie, because this kid sucks. But
I mean, he's a kid.
Like, honestly, he doesn't even suck too bad. It's more of this movie feels to me completely accurate to the culture of Japanese adult humor in the year of 1980. It feels, comparing this to Doraemon, which we watched in the first movie the first 1980 movie.
Right.
And then looking at this, this feels like the unfortunate but appropriate extrapolation of humor and what you're allowed to joke about in
this time period.
In this time period, in an adult movie.
Uh-huh.
Important disclaimer before we get any farther.
Yeah.
This is an adult film.
Yeah.
It's an adult film with adult humor, and it especially we're going to be talking about nude characters.
And there's a child as the main character, so
it just gets really awkward really quickly, because there's a lot of...
Especially to American sensibilities, because, Americans do not want to see, do not want to hear about
don't know anything about
sexual situations that children could potentially be in.
And that's a lot of this movie, unfortunately.
Which, I'm in that category as well. This movie made me uncomfortable for most of the runtime.
So that's your warning.
Mm-hmm.
I would give you a plot synopsis, but this movie's pretty... It's very segmented. It was like 5 20-minute episodes, essentially.
Yeah, it's okay, so this movie is based on a manga, which is not surprising at all. And the structure of the manga is just, like these adventure of the week, like, what is Makoto-Chan and his family getting up to now? And, like, that's the bit. And these all feel like very... I think that this movie would be funnier if it was your own family stories about weird stuff that happened in your family that would be embarrassing to share with anybody else. But, like, in the family, we can all go, oh, that's funny. But watching someone else's family through a cartoon, it's really weird and awkward.
Funny you bring that up, because it's essentially one of the segments.
Yeah. Let's talk about the different segments.
Here's a bit about things that happen. So the first one... important to note, Makoto-chan is a preschooler. He is incredibly young. And they use his childlike naivete...
5 or 6.
Yeah. They use his childlike naivete to do comedy bits about adult humor, where he's a kid and doesn't really understand what he's going on about, but it's like a parody of what real adults do and stuff like that.
Right.
So the first one, he, like, quote-unquote, gets a girlfriend, and then she leaves him for another kid who has a big piece of candy.
Right.
And how dare he? And then he hooks up with an adult woman who is going through a rough time with her boyfriend, because her boyfriend cheats on her, and then they're, like, technically dating, and then it kind of...
It's so awkward.
It escalates into him, like, crashing the wedding and, like, no, you should marry me, and then, like, it pretty much ends.
Oh, I do not
really
like it. I do not like this at all, because they're just alone on the playground together, and I'm like, this is giving me Persona 3.
Oh, wow. You're not wrong. Another segment, he wants to... The context doesn't matter, but he is doing a play with his sister, and it was supposed to just be for their parents, but the mom wanted to brag about this play that her children are doing, so she got all the other local moms to come over. And the play was created by the sister, who's older than him. She's like
a couple years older.
Yeah, she's like maybe 10 or something. And she decided to do a show all about balls and other inappropriate locations on people, and making jokes about their parents' sizes and stuff like that, which, if it would have just been the family, haha, good fun. But now it's in front of all of the local families, and the mom and dad are dying of embarrassment. Also, the dad's only character trait is he's a beta male, essentially. Like, I hate using that term, but that's the kind of character he's supposed to be.
Right.
He's the wimpy guy that gets
pushed around by everyone in his family.
He can't do anything by himself, so his wife takes over as the head of the household. That's the joke with him. Yeah. It's not funny. They don't really do a lot with it. Whatever.
Yeah.
And the mom is just like, I don't know, she's a mom that, like, she has some, like, inner troubles about, like, oh no, I fart and I laugh at poop jokes. I'm not a lady.
Right.
That's it. That's her joke.
Yeah.
These characters are pretty one note.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways.
Well, probably for the simple fact that the more one note they are, the more you're supposed to be able to relate to them.
Mm-hmm. Because, like, I'm assuming this is supposed to be a parody of the quote-unquote Japanese nuclear family.
You're right, exactly.
And, of course, the characters are like...
It's like a Simpsons.
Yeah, it's a Simpsons where, like, they're taking the common tropes of mom, dad, brother, sister, and then just, like...
wiping away the wholesomeness, and it's just like, no, here's the real family underneath.
And how they're all rude and crude and stuff.
Yeah, how they're all messed up.
Anyways, a lot of this segment has the main character nude from the bottom down to show his inflatable balloon that is his tanuki balls.
Right, because in Japan, tanukis, little raccoons, in folklore always have giant balls. I don't know why this is a thing.
It's not something I don't know a whole lot about it, but they always do. And it's just kind of a...
Like, everybody knows about it.
It's like a good luck charm, maybe? I don't know. But they always are depicted with huge sacks. And that's just a thing.
Yeah.
And so they're doing a thing about that. And it's weird and kind of gross. And then they have a quiz of, like, whose penis drawing is this? Is this mom? Is this Makoto or is this dad? And, like, trying to, like, poking fun at how small their parents are, and they do the same thing with the girls, and it just ends there, essentially, with the parents being incredibly embarrassed.
And then
there's another segment after this, which, hilariously enough, is kind of a callback to Doraemon, because Makoto gets an egg.
Yeah.
He gets a sparrow egg, and he wants to hatch it, and he does. That's essentially the plot. He wanders into a location he's not supposed to do this, which is a construction site, and then he gets chased around by a construction woman whose shirt busts open, and then she's just waggling everywhere, and it's just like, why? Why did you do this? That's kind of the constant of this movie. Yeah.
As we were describing these, sometimes you might be thinking, like,
that
doesn't sound that bad. Always add in, like, that this kid has snot everywhere, and there's also just unnecessary nudity and innuendos happening all the time.
And a child screaming all
the time. Yeah, it's...
it becomes pretty unbearable pretty quickly, and I'm trying to gloss over most of, like, the humor, quote-unquote, just to get through this. The next segment... I could be forgetting some of these, I don't know. But the next segment is mom is really feeling lonely and wants...
Unloved
and wants to have a good time with dad. So she makes a special bento box with a secret message to Dad about like, hey, you doing anything tonight? I'll be waiting for you. Winky face and stuff like that.
Wink.
And Makoto accidentally gets that bento box.
Yeah.
And so he reads all of this, and even though he's a child, he's like, oh no, my mom's in love with me.
Right.
And so he goes home, and his mom is like super upbeat and chipper because she assumes that her husband's going to be like, oh yeah, let's do the thing, and he'll be home and do stuff. Instead, he gets home really late and is drunk. And because he didn't get the message.
Right.
And so the whole time, Makoto's just like, no, Mom.
Yeah.
And she's like, let's take a bath together. We haven't done that in years. And he's like, no. And like those kind of things.
Yeah.
Which like parents taking baths with their children is just a common thing in Japan. Honestly, that kind of thing still happens in America often too. Well, less so, but like, it's not a...
I also want to
that's
say...
kind of a weird type of thing to do.
I also want to say that a lot of the uncomfortableness from watching this movie was in the fact that I knew it was an adult film, and I didn't know how far it was going to go with some of these gags. Yeah. It's one of those things that now that I've seen it all and like I know where it goes, I can look back on it and be like, okay, that's kind of a funny haha situation.
It's like, oh, it's not as bad as I thought it might have gone.
But it's really like, oh, please,
first time watching it.
Please, no, please don't go there.
It's like, how far are you going to go with this? Please, I really don't want to see this mom and her child
doing anything inappropriate.
Anything.
Yeah, I'm just like, oh, please. But yeah.
Yeah, they just take a bath and that's it. And then the husband gets home and the mom's really angry and like beats him up.
Yeah. That's the joke.
That's the joke. The last segment is the most wholesome one.
Yeah.
There's a contest in his preschool for like the best student award, and it's for whoever does the most good things. Yeah. So Makoto really wants to do his best, and so he finds a man in a field that was taking a whiz, and then he lost his paycheck. So
back before direct deposit, man.
Man, back when you got like an actual paper check.
Wow.
And if you lost it, that was your money gone. Damn.
Anyways,
so he's helping him find it in this like empty lot, and he gets like a bunch of neighbors and his family all involved. And eventually the man realizes that he stuffed his
paycheck in his underwear
because he got startled when he was peeing because he picked up a snake.
Oh, yeah.
And so he like screamed and ran, and then he couldn't find his paycheck. And that's the whole thing. So instead of just admitting, oops, it was in my pants this whole time, you've been looking in the around in the grass for like
all day.
Like 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah.
Something. The sun is going down. Instead of just being like, oops, here it is, he decides, I'm going to let this kid actually do something helpful. So he drops it in the grass and he's like, hey, can you check over here for me? And Makoto's like, okay. And then he buries it.
Yeah, because he's like, I don't see it.
He's just like digging through, and he accidentally buries the paycheck. And the guy's like, oh no. And they're like, what's wrong? He's like, nothing. Because he can't admit that he found it and then lost it again.
Right.
So,
oh man.
Then Makoto finds a pair of dentures that a grandma that's helping them lost. So he helped that, and then they all leave, and the guy's still just stuck there trying to find his paycheck. And it's like, okay, this whole section mostly works.
Yeah, this one was pretty good for me. I like this one.
And then he does get the best student award because he helped a grandma find her dentures.
Right.
Which is not what he went there to do.
Oh, the poor guy.
And that's like the segments that I remember. Did I miss any?
I think that's all of them.
Okay.
This movie felt very long.
So, joking about child nudity, and like going back to what I was saying earlier, but like joking about child nudity feels very accurate compared to Doraemon, where child nudity is just a thing that happens. So let's just joke about it even more in an adult comedy.
Right.
Let's include the sister and the mom being depicted either naked or in sexual ways and whipping the small boy as he is also naked.
In like a dominatrix kind of.
Yeah.
Ugh.
3 different times throughout the course of this movie.
Yeah.
3 times it is shown in like a sexual dominatrix style way, either his mom or his sister beating the main character. And like, I really don't want to know about the original mangaka's sexual preferences, but it feels like they're very much
obvious.
so on like
Full display
here.
Yeah.
So when they're not, like, that just feels like the unfortunate appropriate escalation of casually showing a nude girl in a children's movie to now we're just showing them nude, but now in like a sexual, jokey manner.
Well, I've got a little bit of news for you that'll probably put a slightly different context to some of this.
Okay, can I say what the other form of humor was in this movie?
Yeah.
The other form of humor is poop.
Yeah, poop.
It's just poop, and it's like yellow spiral poops.
Yeah.
That's it.
Poops
it happens
everywhere.
a lot. That's the jokes. That's like the only jokes you get out of this entire movie.
Poop humor.
Okay, fill me in.
Okay, so the mangaka, could you please say that name?
Kazuo Umezu. Umezu? Yes.
Umezu.
Yes.
So this mangaka is known initially more for his works in horror, which I think makes sense given the art style of this.
Yeah, because that's the one thing I wanted to mention is everyone is drawn generally with more lines than you would normally do. So they're not cute or adorable or appealing most of the time. They're overly drawn to make them look more realistic in like an ugly way.
But they're not ugly. They're just a little unsettling.
Yeah, like unsettling with too many lines, and like I feel like it accentuates the jokes of ugliness of the movie, which honestly kind of works for it, but like
doesn't mean I like it.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. So I think that already gives a lot more like, okay, I kind of see where this guy's coming from in terms of like, because he was known for horror, and then he went into comedy with like Makoto-Chan.
Yes.
And I'm like, okay, like even without seeing your previous works, although I think I saw a couple of art pages of some of his horror mangas, I was like, this makes sense to me. Like this
correlation.
Yeah, like this transition from one to the other.
Okay.
And like the kind of like more adult humor angle too that they're going for. The director of this film was
Tsutomu Shibayama.
Thank you, Shibayama, who will mostly be directing Doraemon films.
What?
Yeah.
They're mostly going to be directing Doraemon films from here on out?
Yeah, like, there was like 20 Doraemon films he just directed, or more.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was funny that you brought up Doraemon, because, yeah, it's directed by the same guy.
I really hope we start liking Doraemon. There are over 40 of these movies, and if we don't like them,
so many.
It's gonna be rough.
Yeah. Well, anyway, that's really it.
Yeah. I would generally say skip this, especially if you're an American audience and sexual humor, especially based around underage children,
squeaks you out.
Don't watch this one.
Yeah. Besides, even if some of this sounded kind of funny to you, like, it really is just kind of unpleasant and loud and obnoxious.
The animation was pretty standard for Japan at this point. The backgrounds are kind of lazy. They're like drawn with some parts colored in, and then the rest of it is a gradient that they put behind everything.
Yeah, they were efficient. We'll call them efficient, not lazy.
Yeah.
Efficient.
Okay. Yeah, efficient. There's like one ongoing joke that is just a transition scene that they use about 7 times, and it's just about
so much reused animation.
Yeah, but it's like the only joke that I kind of like just from the concept of it. It's the Japanese crows flying in like a sunset sky, and instead of just going car, car, they're going baka, baka, which is just screaming idiot over and over again.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, I like that.
It's cute.
But they use it too much, so
Yeah.
it like loses its jokeness.
Well, plus it doesn't really have anything to do with anything else.
No, that's kind of why I like it.
It's just kind of random.
It's a fun throwaway joke, but then they
Uh-huh.
use it a lot, and then it loses its jokiness.
Okay. Yeah.
Either way,
Anyway.
that's it. So join us back here next time as we watch a finished movie.
Wow, a finished movie
I
as
know.
compared to an unfinished movie?
Well, yes, actually, because we are watching The King and the Mockingbird from France.
Which might sound familiar to you.
Because we already watched that movie back in 1956, or technically we found it later and went back and watched it, but whatever. It's from like 1956 because it was released before it was done.
It's a real thief and the cobbler situation.
Yeah, so join us back here next time as it's released when the creator felt it was actually ready.
Awesome.
See you guys then.
Yeah.
子供が花につけひげテレビの振りを真似する大人がわざとおだてる騒ぎが始まる